Hey everybody, my name is Chris and I'm from the Dynamic Drum School. Today I want to teach you how to play Again by Lenny Kravitz. So let's get right to it. First I want to show you the drum set legend in case you're not familiar with drum notation. You'll notice the crash cymbal, that's the X. Then right next to that we have another X, that's the hi-hat. Then we got the snare drum, then the bass drum, then we got the small tom, then the floor tom, and then the last one you'll notice is a diamond shaped note. That represents the electronic claps. So if you don't have electronic drums and you can't mimic that sound, you can just play it on the snare drum. Now let me show you the main drum beat of the song. We're going to break this down into 3 parts. Let's look at example number 1 first. This is just the hi-hat and the snare drum. We've got 8 eighth notes on the hi-hat and then the 2 and the 4 on the snare drum. I'm going to break this down and play this for you 2 measures at 60 beats per minute. Let's try it together. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Great, let's take a look at example number 2. This is the hi-hat and the bass drum part. We've got same thing, 8 eighth notes on the hi-hat, and then the bass drum is on beat 1. Then you're going to skip ahead to beat 3 and the and a 3. So you play those together. Let's try it 2 measures. Let's play it together at 60 beats per minute. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2, 3 and 4. And 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Now let's look at example number 3. This is combining example number 1 and 2. So we're putting everything together. This is the actual drum beat of most of the song. So we've got bass drum and hi-hat together on 1, then just the hi-hat on the and a 1. We've got 2, we've got the hi-hat and snare, then just the hi-hat on the and. Then on the 3 and the and we have the hi-hat and the bass drum. The 4 is the hi-hat and the snare, and then the and is just the hi-hat. So let's do that again. We're going to play this together at 60 beats per minute for 2 measures. 1, 2, 3 and 4. And 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Now let's take a look at example number 4. This is the pickup drum fill that leads into the song. So you'll notice a quarter note rest on beat 1, a quarter note rest on beat 2, eighth note rest on beat 3. Then we've got a snare drum hit on the and a 3. Then you're going to play 2/16ths on the snare, 4 E, and then you go up to the small tom on the and a 4. So 1, 2, 3 and 4 and again 1, 2, 3 and 4 and. Now let's play that together. We're going to do this 4 measures at 60 beats per minute. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and 1. Now let's take a look at example number 5. So this is actually what it sounds like on the recording. The drums on the recording have a delay on the actual sound. So what the drummer is playing is example number 4, but this is what you want to play if you want to have it actually sound, unless you have, of course, a delay on your drums. So most of you won't have that, so you'll want to try example number 5. So it's basically the same thing. There's just 2 extra notes on the duh of 3 and the duh of 4. So you'll start off the same. We got 2 quarter note rests, eighth note rest on beat 3. Then now we have 2 snare hits. So we still have one on the and a 3, and then there's a duh of beat 3. So the louder note on the and then a softer note. So you're going to hit a loud note, and then you'll see in parentheses that's the grace note where you're going to hit, just barely hit the snare. 3 and then you're going to play 2 snare drum hits on the 4 E. Those will be louder, and then same thing up to the small tom on the and a 4. And then you'll come over to the floor tom on the duh of 4. And you can play that a little softer. So 3 and a 4 E and again 3 and a 4 E and Let's practice this together. 4 measures at 60 beats per minute. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Great, so now let's show you the drum beat to the breakdown of the song. Example number 8 is the actual beat, but I wanted to show you two easier versions first. So we've got a level 1 version, which is example number 6, and then example number 7 is level 2, which is a little bit harder than that, and then example number 8 is the actual beat. So we'll start with example number 6. We're going to have a quarter note on the bass drum, then 2E on the snare, 2E. Then we've got beat 3, a quarter note on the bass drum, and then 4E on the snare. 4E. So I'm going to count all the 16 notes so you'll see where everything lies. So 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and. All right, let's try this together. 4 measures at 60 beats per minute. Now let's take a look at example number 7. This is going to be a little bit harder. We're going to have 2 hits on beat 1 and 3 on the bass drum. So the snare drum will stay the same. So we got 1E on the bass, and then 2E on the snare again, then 3E on the bass, and then 4E on the snare. So I'll do the same thing. I'll count all the 16ths. 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and. Great, now you can play that. Try it with me, practice with me for 4 measures at 60 beats per minute. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. Now let's look at example number 8. This is the actual beat and the bridge. We've got 2 hits on the bass drum. Same thing. Now I put the diamond shape. So, you know, if you have the electronic drum, use it, or just stick to the snare. So we've got 1E and 2E and that's the same. We just now have 2 extra bass drums on the and the duh of 3. So we've got 3E and total of 4 16ths, 3E and then same thing, 4E and all together, I'm going to count all the 16ths. 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and. So you'll want to just repeat that a couple times and then try it with me. I'm going to do it 4 measures at 60 beats per minute. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Great, so the last example is number 9, and I just wanted to give you one more variation. If you struggle with the 4 hits on the bass drum, you can mimic the song pretty close and just move that bass drum part over to the floor tom. So you'll do, the snare will be the same on beats 2 and 4, but you'll just play the same rhythm you were playing on the bass drum now on the floor tom, and it'll sound like this. 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and. So try any of those variations. Same thing, we'll do that together, 4 measures at 60 beats per minute. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. Great, so now that you can play the different beats and the fills, let's break down the basic form of the song for you. So you can play either example number 4 or 5 for the pickup drum fill. Then the intro starts. You're going to hit the crash cymbal and the bass drum. You're going to continue the beat you just learned for 3 measures. Then notice on the and of 4, you're going to hit the crash cymbal and the bass drum. And what I'll do is I'll break this down for you a little bit slower at 60 beats per minute. I'm going to play the 3rd and 4th measures twice. So I'll play the 3rd measure. You'll hit the crash, then you'll rest for a measure, then go back and try the 3rd measure again, hitting that crash cymbal. So the next part is the verse, and the verse is 8 measures long, and the lyric is I've been searching for. Play that for 8 measures, then the chorus starts. You're going to hit the crash cymbal and the bass drum, then you continue for 8 measures playing the same drum beat, and the main lyric is all of my life, where have you been? Then you'll notice at the end of the chorus, you'll see in the drum chart, repeat to verse 2. So then you're going to go back to the verse. Now it's verse 2, and the lyric's going to be a sacred gift. There's no crash cymbal at the beginning. You just play the drum beat for 8 measures. Then you're going to go to the chorus. Same lyrics. It will sound just the same. Hit the crash cymbal at the beginning. Play that for 8 measures. And then you transition into the bridge. And this is the bridge beat. So you could play any of the 3 versions. You can play example number 8, which is this beat here. You can play example number 6, which was level 1, or example number 7, which is level 2. Whichever you can play, and then over time you can try to get harder, get to the actual drum beat. So you'll notice the drum beat you play 3 times in a row, and then the 4th measure is a rest, and you'll hear the lyric, my love forever. So once again, I mentioned earlier, if you have an electronic drum, you could create the similar snap sound or clap sounds. If not, just play it on the snare drum. So now you continue into the guitar solo. Starts off with the crash and the bass drum, and then you continue for 8 more measures. So now we go to the chorus section, and you're going to repeat this twice. So it's 8 measures times 2, so we got 16 measures, and only the first time does Cindy Blackman hit the crash cymbal. Then you play it 8 measures, go back, repeat it again, and the second time there's no crash. Feel free to add it if you want. And then the outro, basically just playing the beat, and the song just fades out. So that's the whole song. So now you can play that, you can jam along. There's another video where it's just to play along. You'll see the video of me playing the drums. You'll be able to watch the notation, the drum notation, and it's moving, so you'll be able to follow along with it, and then you can jam along with the song. If you like the content, feel free to give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you know when the next video comes out, and have a great one. Talk to you later.